The twin suns of Aloria painted the alien sky in hues of violet and gold. It was a world unlike any Ethan had ever seen, filled with forests of glass-like trees and rivers that glowed faintly in the night. For most humans, Aloria was just another neutral planet, a place where traders, explorers, and diplomats came to speak without fear of war. But for Ethan, it was something more. It was the place where he first met her. Her name was Liara. Ethan remembered the first time he saw her in the marketplace of the capital city. Among the towering spires of crystalline buildings, she had stood out, not because of her alien features, though they were striking, but because of the way she moved. Her steps were graceful, flowing like music, and her eyes, large and silver, seemed to hold entire galaxies within them. At first, he had only watched from a distance. Humans were tolerated on Aloria, but not truly trusted. The Alorians saw them as reckless newcomers to the galaxy, too bold, too curious, and too quick to make enemies. A friendship between a human and a daughter of Aloria's council was not only rare, it was dangerous. Yet fate had its way of pushing people together. One evening, Ethan found himself lost in the labyrinth-like gardens outside the council hall. The pathways glowed faintly with living lights, and the air carried a sweet scent from flowers that opened only beneath starlight. He had been wandering for an hour when he heard her voice. "You are far from where you are meant to be, human." He turned and saw her sitting on a stone bench beneath a tree that shimmered like crystal. Her robe was simple yet elegant, and the light of the stars reflected in her eyes. "I think I'm lost," Ethan admitted, trying not to sound foolish. She tilted her head, studying him. Most humans would not admit that. They would pretend they knew the way. Ethan chuckled softly. "Then maybe I'm not like most humans." That was the beginning. From that night forward, they met often, sometimes by chance in the bustling streets, sometimes by secret arrangement in the quiet gardens. Their conversations flowed easily, despite the differences in their cultures. Liara spoke of her people's long history, of their belief in harmony and balance. Ethan spoke of Earth, of the oceans and forests, of human music and laughter. She was fascinated by his stories, and he was enchanted by the way she listened, as if every word was precious. Weeks turned into months, and their bond grew. But bonds between their kinds were forbidden. Both humans and Alorians had strict laws. To be seen together too often was already dangerous. To feel more than friendship was unthinkable. Yet Ethan could not help it. Every time Liara smiled, every time her hand brushed against his by accident, every time her laughter filled the air, he felt something deeper pulling him toward her. One night, after a long day of negotiations between human traders and Alorian council members, Ethan found himself once more in the starlit gardens. Liara was waiting for him, her silver eyes glowing softly. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "Neither should you," he replied with a small smile. They sat together in silence for a while, listening to the gentle hum of the living lights that lined the pathways. Ethan's heart raced. He had been holding back his feelings for too long, fearing what would happen if he spoke them aloud. But that night, with the stars burning bright above them, he could no longer keep the words inside. "I wish I could marry you," he whispered. For a moment there was only silence. Ethan's heart sank, fearing he had gone too far. But then he saw it, the faint curve of her lips as she smiled. "Then you shall," Liara said softly. Ethan blinked, stunned. "What do you mean?" She looked at him with eyes that seemed older than her years, filled with both sorrow and hope. "There is something you do not know, Ethan. Something my people have kept hidden for centuries." Ethan leaned closer, his voice barely a breath. "What is it?" Liara glanced around the garden as if the trees themselves might be listening. Then she whispered, "There is a prophecy among my people. It speaks of a human who will come to Aloria, one who will bridge the gap between our worlds. A human whose heart will bind with one of ours, and together they will change the fate of both civilizations." Ethan's breath caught. "And you think that's me?" Liara touched his hand gently, her fingers warm against his skin. "I do not just think it, I feel it. From the moment we met, I knew there was something different. My people would call it destiny." He stared at her, struggling to understand. Prophecies, destiny, forbidden love, it all felt like something from an old Earth legend. Yet as he looked into her eyes, he could not deny the truth of what he felt. "But if this is true," he said slowly, "then why keep it a secret? Why not tell your people? Her smile faded, replaced by a shadow of fear. Because they are not ready. They fear humanity, Ethan. They see your kind as reckless, dangerous, too eager to fight. To them, such a union would not be a blessing. It would be a threat. If they knew about us, they would try to tear us apart. And if they knew about the prophecy, they would do worse. Ethan's chest tightened. So what do we do? Liara looked at him with fierce determination. We do what must be done. If the prophecy is true, then no law, no council, no army can stop it. Our bond is not just ours, Ethan. It belongs to the future of our people. The weight of her words pressed down on him. This was no longer just about love. This was about destiny, about two civilizations, about the future of the galaxy itself. And yet, as he sat beside her in the starlit garden, Ethan knew one thing with absolute certainty. He loved her, and he would do anything to be with her. The wind rustled through the glowing trees, carrying with it the distant sound of voices from the council hall. But in that moment the world felt small, as if only the two of them existed beneath the stars. Liara leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. Promise me, Ethan, promise me you will not let fear tear us apart. I promise, he said, his voice steady. No matter what happens, I'll stand by you. Her silver eyes softened and she placed her hand over his heart. Then the prophecy has already begun. The days after that night in the gardens were heavy with silence. Ethan could still hear Liara's words in his mind like an echo that refused to fade. Then you shall. The prophecy has already begun. He tried to carry on with his duties as an explorer and human representative, attending meetings between traders and diplomats, but his thoughts always drifted back to her. Every time he looked at the council chamber, every time he caught sight of the silver glow of her eyes across the room, his heart pulled him toward her. But now, things were different. This wasn't just about love anymore. It was about prophecy, about destiny, about something much larger than himself. Liara, too, seemed different. When she spoke in the council, her voice was calm and steady, but there was a new fire behind her words. She would often glance at Ethan, her expression unreadable, yet he knew. She was carrying the same weight that he was. A dangerous secret one evening, they met again, this time in a quiet chamber beneath the council hall. It was a place few visited, filled with dusty records and old star maps carved into crystal tablets. Liara's robe shimmered faintly in the low light as she turned to him. My father suspects something, she whispered. Ethan froze. He knows about us? Not yet. But he senses a change in me. He has ruled for decades. He is wise and cautious. He will not ignore the signs forever. Ethan swallowed hard. Then we should stop meeting like this, at least until things calm down. But Liara shook her head. No. If the prophecy is true, then hiding will not stop it. My father may fear humanity, but there are others in the council who fear worse things. Enemies who would see any bond between us as betrayal. Ethan frowned. Enemies? She nodded slowly. There are factions within my people. Some want peace with humans, others demand distance. And some... Her voice lowered to a whisper. Some would rather see war. The word hung in the air like a shadow. Ethan took her hands gently. Then we need to be careful. For now, let's keep this between us. We can't risk being discovered, not yet. Liara hesitated, then nodded. Yes, but remember, Ethan, secrets do not stay buried forever. Whispers in the shadows, despite their caution, whispers began to spread. A few traders noticed Ethan lingering too long in the gardens. A servant saw Liara leave her chambers at strange hours. At first, these were only rumors, harmless and vague. But rumors have a way of growing, especially in places filled with politics and fear. One night, as Ethan walked back to his quarters, he was stopped by an older human diplomat, a man named Marshall. You should be careful, boy, Marshall said in a low voice. People are talking. Ethan tried to play dumb. Talking about what? Marshall gave him a hard look. About you and the council leader's daughter. Don't think the Aelorians are blind. They watch everything. And if these rumors reach the wrong ears, you won't just embarrass yourself, you'll start a fire you can't put out. Ethan's heart sank, but he forced a calm smile. They're just rumors. Nothing more. Good, Marshall said, though his tone was doubtful. Keep it that way. For all our sakes. Ethan walked away, but the warning echoed in his mind. The council gathering. The storm finally broke during a great gathering of the council. Leaders from across the sector had come to Eloria to discuss trade routes and treaties. The grand chamber was filled with voices, with robes of many colors, with the glittering light of the crystal ceiling high above. Ethan sat quietly with the human delegation, listening as Liara's father, Counselor Thalen, spoke with authority. His voice was strong, calm, yet filled with caution when he addressed humanity's growing influence in the galaxy. But then, a new voice cut through the chamber. Harsh, sharp, and filled with venom, it was Counselor Varric, one of the most vocal opponents of humanity. He rose to his feet, his long fingers curling into fists. "Enough of these games," Varric snarled. "We speak of trade, of peace. Yet one of your own daughters has already betrayed you, Thalen. She walks with a human. She whispers with him in your gardens. Do you deny it?" The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned toward Liara. Ethan's blood ran cold. Liara stood slowly, her face calm but her hands trembling ever so slightly. "Counselor Varric, you twist shadows into lies." "Lies?" Varric, he said. "Then tell us, child, why is the human always near you? Why do the servants speak of secret meetings? Why does the air of prophecy cling to you like a shadow?" The word prophecy sent a murmur through the chamber. Ethan's heart pounded. How did Varric know? Thalen rose, his eyes flashing. "Enough! You bring dishonor to this council with your baseless accusations." But Varric pressed on, his voice rising. "Baseless? Then let us ask the human himself." His long arm stretched, finger pointing straight at Ethan. "You there, explorer? Tell us before this council, what is your bond with Liara?" All eyes turned to him. Ethan felt his throat tighten. 100 voices seemed to press down on him, demanding an answer. He saw Liara's eyes across the chamber, wide and desperate, pleading silently with him to be careful. He stood slowly, forcing his voice to remain steady. "Counselor Varric, with all respect, I came to Eloria as an explorer, not to stir conflict." "Liara has been kind to me, nothing more," Varric sneered. "Nothing more? Then why does the prophecy whisper your name? Why does fate bend toward you both?" A wave of unease swept through the council chamber. Some faces showed fear, others curiosity. The word prophecy was dangerous. It meant something sacred, something powerful. Liara's father slammed his hand against the crystal table. "Enough, Varric! You poison this chamber with superstition and fear. This gathering is adjourned." The meeting ended in chaos. Aftermath that night, Ethan and Liara met in secret, their faces pale with worry. "They know," Ethan whispered. Liara nodded, her voice trembling. "Varric has always sought power. He must have spies. He will not stop now. The prophecy is too dangerous in his hands." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then what do we do? If the council believes him, they will tear us apart," Liara finished softly. "And perhaps worse. If they think the prophecy is real, they may see you as a threat to be removed." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we can't stay here. Not if it puts you in danger." Liara's silver eyes filled with sorrow but also resolve. "Running will not stop destiny, Ethan. It will only delay it. We must face this together." He took her hand, his heart burning with determination. "Then together it is." Outside, the city lights of Eloria glowed like a sea of stars. But in the shadows, forces were moving. Spies, whispers, factions sharpening their knives. The prophecy was no longer just a secret between them. It was now a spark in the dark, and the galaxy was beginning to notice. The city of Eloria no longer felt safe. Once, Ethan had walked its glowing streets with wonder, amazed by the crystal towers and the endless music of the wind through the silver trees. Now every shadow seemed to hide a spy, and every whisper in the marketplace sounded like his name. After the council gathering, things had changed. Rumors spread faster than wildfire. Some said Liara had betrayed her people. Others claimed Ethan was a thief of prophecy, a human who came not to trade but to conquer hearts and destinies. And Counselor Varric fed those rumors like fuel to a fire. His words spread through the city. "The human seeks to corrupt us. The girl seeks to betray us. Together they will bring ruin." A world closing in Ethan remained in his quarters for days, watched closely by guards who claimed it was for his protection. But he knew the truth. He was a prisoner in all but name. Even Marshall, the old human diplomat, visited him with a warning. "You've made yourself too visible," Marshall said in a low voice. "Whatever you're doing with Liara, stop it now. You'll bring trouble not just on yourself, but on all of us." Ethan's jaw tightened. So I should just walk away? Pretend none of this ever happened? Marshall sighed heavily. Sometimes survival is better than truth. Think on that, boy. But Ethan already knew he couldn't walk away. Not from Liara. Not from what they had discovered. That night she came to him in secret. Dressed in a hooded robe, she slipped past the guards and entered his room. Her silver eyes glowed in the dim light, filled with both fear and fire. "We can't stay here," she whispered. "Varric's spies follow me everywhere. My father defends me in council, but even he cannot hold back the storm forever." Ethan took her hands. "Then let's go. We'll find somewhere safe far from here." Liara hesitated. "Leaving Eloria means exile. I would never be allowed to return, and you would be branded a criminal, hunted by both humans and Elorians." "Then so be it," Ethan said firmly. "I'd rather be hunted with you than live free without you." For a long moment she searched his eyes. Then she nodded. "Very well, we leave at dawn." Escape into the stars, their escape was desperate and dangerous. Disguised as travelers, they moved through the crowded market at sunrise, slipping past guards and watchful eyes. Liara led the way, knowing the hidden paths through the city's lower levels. Ethan carried only a small pack of supplies, his heart pounding as he kept his hood low. Every step felt like it could be their last. At the edge of the city, they reached a small docking bay. An old cargo ship, half rusted and barely flight-worthy, waited in the shadows. Its owner, a smuggler who owed Liara's family an old debt, agreed to look the other way as they boarded. As the ship lifted into the sky, Ethan watched the city of Eloria fade into the horizon. The shining towers grew smaller and smaller until they were just points of light against the dark. He felt both free and afraid. Free because he was finally with Liara, away from the eyes of the council. Afraid because now they had no protection, only each other. The forgotten colony days passed as the smuggler's ship drifted through space. They avoided main trade routes, sticking to the edges of the star maps. Finally, they landed on a small, forgotten human colony, a place abandoned generations ago, after a failed attempt to terraform the land. The colony was broken and quiet, its buildings cracked and half covered in alien moss. But there were still people there, outcasts, exiles, and old scientists who had chosen to remain. One of them was Dr. Carlin, a human geneticist with silver hair and tired eyes. He studied Ethan and Liara with deep interest when they arrived. "You two," he said slowly. "You're not just running from politics. There's something more, isn't there?" Liara glanced at Ethan, then nodded. "The prophecy. It speaks of a human and an Elorian joining together. My people believe it is destiny. Varric fears it, but others would kill to control it." Dr. Carlin's eyes narrowed. "Then you should know. Prophecy or not, there may be truth behind it. Humanity is different," Ethan frowned. "Different how?" Carlin led them to a small lab filled with old equipment and glowing data screens. He pulled up files showing genetic structures side by side, human and Elorian. "Your kind adapts faster than any other species," Carlin explained. "Your DNA is like a puzzle that can fit into many shapes. That's why humans can survive on worlds where others cannot. And when combined with Elorian traits, long life, heightened perception, the result could be extraordinary." Liara's voice was soft. "Extraordinary. Or dangerous," Carlin nodded. "Yes, that is why some fear you. If your bond is real, if it is completed, you may create something new. A bridge between your species. Or a weapon no one can control." The weight of his words hung heavy in the room. The truth of the prophecy that night, as they sat in the ruined colony beneath a sky filled with unfamiliar stars, Ethan turned to Liara. "So it's true," he said quietly. "The prophecy isn't just some story. It's real. We really are different." Liara leaned against him, her silver eyes reflecting the starlight. "Perhaps, but even if it is true, what matters most is not the prophecy. It is us, you and I." Ethan smiled faintly, but his heart was heavy. If the council sees us as a threat, if humanity fears us too, where do we belong? Her hand tightened around his. Together. That is enough. He kissed her forehead gently, holding her close. For a moment, the fear and weight of destiny faded, and there was only love. The hunter's arrival. But peace never lasted long. 3 nights later, the colony shook with the sound of engines. Ships descended from the sky. their black hulls marked with the crest of Varric's faction. Soldiers in dark armor poured into the streets, their weapons glowing. Ethan and Liara were dragged from their hiding place, surrounded on all sides. The soldiers sneered at them as if they were already defeated. "By order of the council," one soldier declared, "you are both under arrest. You will return to Aloria to face judgment." Ethan clenched his fists, ready to fight, but Liara placed a hand on his arm. "No," she whispered. "Not here. Not now." The soldiers bound their hands and marched them to the waiting ship. As they were forced aboard, Ethan met Liara's gaze. Her silver eyes were filled not with fear but with quiet defiance. "They may exile us," she whispered, her voice steady. "They may hunt us, but they cannot stop what has already begun." The stars stretched endlessly around them as the small ship moved through the void. Ethan and Liara sat in silence, their hands intertwined. Outside, the galaxy spun in vast, indifferent beauty, but inside, the tiny cabin felt like the center of everything. They were fugitives now, hunted not only by Alorian factions, but also by those who feared the prophecy's power. Every passing star reminded Ethan of the stakes. They were not just running for themselves. They were running for something far larger, something that could change the galaxy. Liara broke the silence. "We can't stay hidden forever. We need allies, and we need a place where no one will stop us." Ethan nodded. "The colony gave us that start, but it's too small, too vulnerable. We need a place where we can prepare, and where the prophecy can be fulfilled safely." Her silver eyes sparkled with determination. "I know such a place." The forgotten ceremony. Liara explained that in the ancient texts of her people, there was mention of a ceremony of bonding. It was a ritual designed to unite two beings not only in love but in purpose, a ritual meant for those rare couples whose bond could affect civilizations. "It is dangerous," she admitted. "The ceremony awakens latent abilities, strengthens bonds, and it may make us visible to those who hunt us, but it is the only way to fulfill the prophecy fully." Ethan looked at her, the weight of their destiny pressing down on him. "Then we do it, together." They set a course for an abandoned temple on a moon orbiting a distant star, a place forgotten by time, hidden from prying eyes. Its towers, carved from black stone, glimmered faintly under the light of 3 moons. As they approached, Ethan felt an odd hum in the air, like the resonance of the universe itself. Liara held his hand tightly. "This place chooses only those it deems worthy. If it accepts us, then nothing in the galaxy can break our bond." Ethan swallowed hard. "Then let it choose us." Preparing the bond inside the temple, the air was thick with the smell of ancient stone and faint ozone. Symbols glowed on the walls, reacting to Liara's presence. She walked forward confidently, her hands tracing the lines of the carvings. "This is where the ceremony must begin," she said softly. "We must speak the vows of unity, not just with our voices, but with our very hearts." Ethan nodded, feeling both awe and fear. The room seemed alive, as if the temple itself were watching them. Liara instructed him to close his eyes and focus. Ethan felt a vibration deep inside him, as if the stars themselves were whispering. Then Liara spoke words in her native tongue, her voice ringing like silver bells. Ethan did not understand the language, but he felt its meaning. Every syllable connected them, drawing them closer, merging their thoughts, their emotions, and even their life forces. The temple walls pulsed with light, and Ethan realized that this was no ordinary ritual. This was a bond that could reach across worlds, one that might reshape their species forever. The hunters approach, but the galaxy does not wait. Even in the depths of the temple, danger approached. Outside, fleets loyal to Varric moved swiftly through the void, closing in on the moon. They had discovered the ship's trail and were determined to stop what they called the human threat. Liara's voice broke through Ethan's trance. "They are coming. We have little time. Focus, Ethan, focus on us." Ethan opened his eyes. Outside the temple windows, the blackness of space was dotted with enemy ships, weapons primed, and engines burning with deadly intent. The ground shook as the first wave of attack drones crashed against the temple's outer walls. Stones fell and the light flickered. Ethan gritted his teeth. "We can't fail now." Liara pressed her forehead to his. "We cannot. The prophecy must continue. Our bond will protect us." The ceremony of bonding together, they raised their hands, palms touching. The temple responded immediately. the carvings glowing brighter, the air vibrating with energy. Ethan felt a warmth spread through him, a merging of consciousness with Liara. He could feel her thoughts, her fears, her love, and she could feel his. "This is it," Liara whispered. "Speak your vow, Ethan, not just with words, let your heart speak." I will be with you always," Ethan said, his voice trembling. "Through danger, through fear, through whatever the galaxy brings, I will stand by you. You are my life, my strength, my future." Liara smiled, tears glimmering in her eyes. "And I will be yours. Not just as a partner, but as your equal, your ally, your bond in all things. Together we will endure, and together we will change what must be changed." The energy in the temple surged. A wave of light and warmth exploded outward, filling the room and spilling into the night sky. The ships in orbit were buffeted by the energy, unable to fire, their sensors scrambled. Even the most advanced targeting systems could not track the bond between the two humans and aliens united in the ritual. Ethan felt it, the bond reaching beyond them, touching the air, the ground, the distant stars. The prophecy was awakening, power awakened. The temple's energy wrapped around them like a living thing. Ethan could feel his own senses sharpening, his mind connecting with Liara's in ways he could not describe. He could sense the faint pulse of ships in orbit, the emotions of the enemy fleets, even the subtle shifts in the moons around them. Liara's eyes glowed like twin stars. "Do you feel it?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "It's incredible. We're connected. And more than that, we're stronger than they imagined." The waves of energy from their bond spread outward, touching the forests, rivers, and mountains of the moon. Plants shimmered, stones vibrated, and even the air seemed to hum with life. The bond was no longer just theirs. It was a force of nature, a new power in the galaxy. Outside, the fleet scrambled, unsure how to counter the phenomenon. Their weapons misfired, engines stuttered, and communications broke down. The galaxy had learned something in that moment. The prophecy was real, and it was unstoppable. A new era begins. When the light finally subsided, Ethan and Liara remained standing in the temple, hands still joined. Their bond was solid, unbreakable, and alive. They could feel each other's thoughts, their emotions intertwined, their destinies fused. Ethan looked at Liara, awe and love mixing in his gaze. "We did it. The prophecy, it's real." Liara smiled, her silver eyes bright. "Yes, and now the galaxy will know. We have become something new, something neither human nor Elorian alone. Together, we are the bridge." Ethan glanced toward the window. The enemy ships were retreating, unable to challenge them. But he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would respond, some with fear, some with awe, some with war. Liara placed a hand over his heart. "Let them come. Whatever they bring, we face it together." And as the twin moons rose above the temple, casting long shadows across the black stone, Ethan knew one thing for certain. Their union had not just changed them, it had begun a new era. The prophecy was no longer a legend. It was alive, and with it, the age of a new power in the galaxy had begun. The galaxy had never known silence like this. For centuries, humans had been considered cautious, distant, and mostly absent from galactic affairs. Now their presence had returned, sudden and undeniable. And at the center of it all stood Ethan and Liara, bound not only by love but by a power that could reshape the stars themselves. The twin moons of the ritual moon glimmered above the temple, reflecting the energy still flowing from their bond. Even after days, the pulse of their unity resonated outward, reaching planets, fleets, and civilizations far across the sector. The first reaction news of the Union spread faster than light through subspace channels. Merchants, explorers, and even spies whispered of the human and Aelorian who had awakened an ancient prophecy. Some called them saviors. Others called them a threat. Fleet commanders across the galaxy scrambled. Ships were recalled, orders were given, and entire armadas prepared to engage. Varric's faction, humiliated and enraged, swore revenge. The council that had once condemned Liara now argued over how to respond, some believing war was inevitable, others fearing that confronting the pair could bring destruction. Back in the temple, Ethan watched the stars, sensing the movements of ships far beyond the system. "They're mobilizing," he said. Liara's eyes glimmered with determination. "Let them. They will see that nothing can stop what has begun." Ethan shook his head. "Do you really think they'll just accept us?" Liara smiled faintly. "Some will try to fight. Others will bend, but all will notice, and they will understand. Humans are not what they once believed us to be. Humanity's legacy. Even as fleets stirred in fear, Ethan realized that the prophecy was bigger than just their bond. Humans had a history no one else fully remembered. Carlin had shown him ancient records, colonies, explorers, warriors, scientists, all humans who had faced impossible odds and survived, shaping civilizations in subtle ways across the stars. Humans were adaptable, cunning, and resilient. That adaptability, combined with the unique fusion of Liara's people through the bonding ceremony, created a force unlike any the galaxy had seen. "It's more than us," Ethan said quietly. "It's humanity itself," Liara nodded. "Yes, we are only the beginning. Others will follow. The galaxy has underestimated humans for too long. The first challenge, it didn't take long for the first fleet to arrive. Hundreds of warships appeared on the horizon, weapons glowing, ready to challenge the newly united pair. Their intent was clear: destroy Ethan and Liara before the prophecy could spread further. Ethan and Liara stood atop the temple, their hands joined, energy pulsing outward like a living shield. The approaching fleet faltered as they came within range. Their sensors could barely process the force radiating from the couple. It was not just energy, but life, intelligence, and purpose intertwined. A voice crackled from the lead ship. "Surrender or face annihilation. You threaten the galaxy." Ethan exchanged a glance with Liara. "Do we fight?" he asked. Liara shook her head. "We do not fight them in the usual way. We show them the truth." Together they focused. Their bond expanded, reaching toward the ships. Lights danced across hulls, systems faltered, and sensors glowed as if the fleet itself recognized the presence of something new, something far older than any of them had believed humans could be. A new understanding. The fleet commander, seeing his ships unable to fire, realized something extraordinary. The humans before him were not just threats. They were a bridge, a force that could connect civilizations rather than destroy them. We must withdraw," he whispered into the comm. Ethan's heart raced. This was only the first encounter, but it showed the galaxy what humanity could do, not through violence but through presence, unity, and adaptability. "Do you understand now?" Liara asked softly. "The prophecy is not about fear. It is about connection. Humans can survive, adapt, and unite, but they can also guide others. That is why they feared us," Ethan nodded slowly. "Then we show them. Not with weapons, but with what we are." The arrival of allies. Within days, allies began to emerge. Humans from forgotten colonies, awakened by the energy of the bonding ceremony, traveled toward the temple system. Elorians who supported Liara joined their cause, seeing that the prophecy's fulfillment could bring a new era of peace and collaboration. Even former enemies hesitated. Fleet after fleet slowed, scanning the stars, sensing the energy of unity emanating from the bonded pair. They could not destroy it, and they could not ignore it. The galaxy was being reshaped not by war, but by the undeniable presence of something extraordinary. The final confrontation, Varric refused to step back. His fleet formed in battle formation, prepared to force the prophecy into submission. "We will not allow a human and an Aelorian to dictate the fate of the galaxy," he shouted, his voice echoing in the comm channels. Liara's eyes narrowed. "Then you do not understand what has begun. We are not alone. Humanity is not what you feared, and love cannot be stopped by fear." Ethan took her hand. "Together we can show them." They focused their energy outward. Waves of light and warmth cascaded across space. Sensors failed, weapons misfired, and the entire fleet shuddered. The energy of their bond reached every mind in the ships, showing visions of cooperation, of unity, of civilizations working together instead of against each other. One by one, the enemy ships hesitated, then withdrew. Varric's voice faltered as he realized his plan had failed. The galaxy had witnessed the power of humans and Aelorians united in purpose, love, and destiny. A new era. When the last ship departed, Ethan and Liara stood atop the temple once more. The twin moons shone brightly, reflecting their joy and relief. "We did it," Ethan whispered. Liara smiled, placing her forehead against his. "No, we began it. This is only the start. Humanity has returned, and the galaxy will never be the same." Across the sector, messages spread of the bonded pair who had survived impossible odds. who had faced fleets and fear itself, and who had awakened something new within humanity. People began to hope. Some feared. But all knew one truth. Humans were no longer hidden, no longer underestimated. And as Ethan looked at Liara, he understood that the prophecy was not about control, nor conquest, nor fear. It was about potential, human potential, the spark that could light the stars. Hand in hand, they looked toward the future. Planets, stars, and civilizations awaited them. Challenges would come. Enemies would rise. But for the first time in millennia, humans and those who loved them were ready to face the galaxy as one unstoppable force. Ethan whispered softly, "We'll face it together." Liara smiled. "Together always."